years, 2000, 2005, and 2009. So this is a trend. Trend means increase, decrease, stable, right? Those are trend words. Specialist school, grammar school, voluntary controlled schools, and community schools. So if you look at the trend, you can see that specialist grammar and voluntary controlled schools saw, experienced, witnessed a decline. Saw kurdu, experienced бастан өткерді, witnessed куә болды. Үшеуін айтсаңыздан болады. Неде жазып қойған? Хамменің эссесін көріп шығыңды тұрыпты. Дұрыслап жазып қойған. It's actually very easy. Just you're gonna look at it. So 3 of them declined, 1 of them increased or inclined. 12, 32, and over half of the students went to the school. Over half of the students went to the school. So here we have the table gives information about, what? Attendance figures. You could also say attendance rate. Attendance figures for 4 types of secondary schools in 3 different years. Namely, 2000, 2005, and 2009.
Namely means 약미.
Oh, so the 3 different years, what are those 3 different years? Namely, айтып өткенде, санағанда, анықтасып көрсеткенде, дұрыстап айтқанда, туысын айтқанда. That's it. And I would say all of your introductions are not bad. Not bad, they're okay. They're okay. Good. Overall, it is evident that the specialist grammar and voluntary control schools experienced, witnessed, or saw declines in numbers of pupils, right? Like we talked about. They declined. You could see they had less students in 2009 compared to 2000. Less than a decade. Probably a decade. Sure. But, whereas or while, the opposite pattern could be observed. I think I used it before, huh? I showed you when I wrote once about the line graph, I think. I showed you that. So opposite pattern could be observed. You could see an opposite pattern here. They're all going down and this one is going up. So that's an opposite pattern. So why don't you write it right there? The opposite pattern could be observed at community schools. Thus, so that's because of that, it's making them the most popular in terms of attendance levels in the year 2009. That's what you can see here. Oh, it's the most popular school. Now, turning to the details, comma, don't forget the comma right here. The proportion in voluntary, oh, I see. No capital letters here. Because it is not a proper noun. The proportion in voluntary controlled schools fell. Proportion in voluntary controlled schools fell. You can see. From just over half, it was just over half, 52 되면서 just over half 되면서 26% yarım. Sonra 26% degende half deymiz. 23% derde over half, just over half deb tushunduk bersang bo'ladi. So fell from just over half to only 20% from 2000 to 2009. Just over half, and it fell from just over half to 20%. Similarly, you could see others too. The relative number of children in grammar schools, which was 24 in 2000, you could see it did not double. Somebody wrote double. It doubled. Just what the? It did not double. Dropped by half. Yamasa half the symbol. Half. So also dropped by half in the same period. You could see 24, 12. Half. Dropped by half. As for the specialist school, it didn't really see that much of a decline, I believe, right? It didn't really experience that much of a decline. As for the specialist school, the relatively small percentage of pupils attending this type of school also fell. So again, you can see the percentage right here. Although not significantly. So sometimes if you see some declines like 2-3% decline, you can just say it's not a significant decline, right? It also declined, although not significantly. So I talked about this 3 because they're all declining. Now what's left? It's community schools. It should be a different paragraph. It is a different category. These ones are declining. This is inclining. So I divide them into 2. However, while the other 3 types of school declined in popularity, they declined in popularity because less and less students are attending these schools over the years. So while the other 3 types of school declined in popularity, the opposite was true in the case of community schools. In fact, while only a small minority of 12%, so only small minority means small, very minority, minor, of 12% were educated in these schools, in 2000, this figure had increased to well over half of the pupils by the end of the period. Well over half means more than 50%. It's actually way more than 50%, so 58%. That is how it is. Sure. Good. Comparison. Now we need to know how to compare things. Do you know how to compare things? Absolutely you do. You do know it. Let's just go over them a little bit. So, comparative, just like we add ER to short adjectives.